making these two infinity cubes. Technically this isn't a cube because it's too tall. This one is, though both are hollow. But they're both infinity cubes in the sense that they work like infinity cubes. There's a link to written instructions in the description below. I have construction paper, tape, scissors. I'm also going to use a small ruler to help me make some folds. Also a pencil. This is going to become a square tube that has cuts and folds in strategic places. This side will also become a square tube. Two tubes like this. I'll make the tall cube first, best for beginners. I only really need one sheet of construction paper. I'll use a second later on to show you a variation. I fold the construction paper in half and making the fold, and then making a crisp crease with the ruler. I'm only going to use half for the main part of the cube. I want to fold it into 8 pieces going this way and 4 pieces going this way. The second half of the page I'm just going to fold into 8 pieces going this way. I don't always use the same method. Depends on how well the paper is folding. If this is too difficult, I could cut it in half at this point and just fold up one side. Now, I want to make a fold between these two. This is how I usually do it. And then I fold the edges. Okay. Now I'll divide the paper in half. Set this aside for later. Now with this, I want to divide it into 4 pieces going this way. You may notice that these are not squares. They're a little bit taller than they are wide. That's okay, that's how I want them. I think the slightly taller boxes make a sturdier toy in the end. I want to cut along this fold first, and then I'll cut these folds, and then I'll cut in. Let's see which side. It's best to pick the side that I want on the outside and put that facing down. Down the center crease, I'm going to cut just the middle 2 boxes. Along the top and bottom, I'm going to cut 1 box in each direction. And then in the middle, I'm going to cut 2 boxes in each direction. So 2 boxes this way, 2 boxes this way. Now, I want to be careful not to cut this box, or any of the other boxes that are at the ends of these cuts that I've just made. So I might even make my stopping points clearer. And then I'll stop the cut there, skip a box, and start the cut here. So this box is 2. I'll cut 1 here, and 2 here, and the same on this side. 2, 1, and 2. So if you look at just half of it, one side is short, long, short, and the other side is long, short. One side is short, long, short, and the other is long, short, long, or 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I usually like the long one in the middle, in the center, but if you goof and it goes the other way, it'll still work. Alright, so how do I get these cuts? I generally cut this center line first. I do it by making 2 short slits, keeping my fingers out of the way of the scissors, and then cutting from one slit to the other. As I get close to this end of the slit, I make sure that the scissors are coming out above the top strip. Now I cut these. First this way, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1. And then this way, 1, 2, 1. Now I cut in from the outside, 2, 1, 2. If I miss the line, I'll trim it off. When I've used heavy paper, sometimes I've made 2 cuts, a very small distance apart, and clipped them off at the end to give myself room. Now, I'll make all the folds so that they come towards the middle. There we go. Get a piece of tape ready. I usually start on this side. I fold 2 boxes over. Here's the center crease. And I tape across. I could put a piece of tape this way, but then I'd have to deal with taping over the ends. And I do not want to connect the top edges. I only want to connect this edge to the center back. Then I do the same this way. In this case, this half of the tape is right over the previous piece of tape. I do the same to the bottom. As I tape it, I also straighten it out a little bit. Alright, now I tape these 2 and these 2. So I take the outside one and fold it in, just one box, and the inside one and fold it out, again just one box, and tape those together. I do this on all 4. Outside in, inside out, make sure they're aligned. So I'm left with this shape. Now I do what I think of as rehearsing the folds. So here and here are going to be hinges in the final toy. So I'm going to fold them backwards. and then fold them forwards. Here, here, and here are also hinges. I'm not going to use this because it'll catch this paper. This rehearsing of the folds is optional. Okay, 2 more. I'm going to reestablish that this is a corner. It was 2 cup edges, but I need that to fold sharply. And the same on these 2. It's okay if they don't quite meet in the middle. If I rip it any place, as I did right there, I can just reinforce it with tape. Okay, so what I've made is two long tubes. A tube on this side and a tube on this side. And the boxes are square on the end, but a little bit taller than they are on the side. I'm going to do one more thing. The top and the bottom, I'm going to squish together this way. And this one usually does that. It goes off in one direction, but it's easy enough to fix. I just pull it back, and sometimes I'll fan fold it one way and then the other. Okay. Open up all the boxes, not quite cubes in this version. There we go. And now this can roll this way or this way, and either it'll fold in half or the 2 ends will fold. So whichever happens, I do that one. I like folding it in half first, and then opening out the ends in the other direction. Now this is a little bit flimsy, so I want to make it more sturdy. I will do that this way. I'll take these 8 strips and I'll use them to stuff those boxes. So I usually fan fold this going both ways. Oops. Sometimes I cut these, but sometimes, especially with construction paper, they tear easily enough. And if they turn out a little wonky, it's okay. I don't want it too wide. And now I just coil each one up, and I put each into one of these boxes. If this had a pretty side and a plain side, or a decorative end and a plain end, I'd make sure that the nicest part was the part that I rolled up first, because that's the part that's going to show. They don't all have to be the same color. I think the one that isn't a perfect cube is easier to make and a sturdier toy. So I recommend it before attempting the perfect cube. With the purple, I'll show how to make a cube. Fold it in half as before, and then I cut this right away. This is the piece I'll use to stuff the inside. Starting from the clean edge of the paper, I will use the width of this 1/2 to mark upward, and that way I'll be making squares rather than rectangles. I can use my fingernail or any other tool to dent that just a little bit, and then I'll fold it right along that crease. I'll mark this end too. And I'll even do the center, although I don't need to. I'll trim that strip off. Now I fold this into 8 pieces going across and 4 down. The rest is the same as before. One way to make sure I'm on the fold is to start the cut by folding the paper over the scissors slightly, and then to end the cut by folding across the scissors. Alright, there are my strips. A little bit narrow is okay.